Good morning and welcome to St. John's Sunday School. This morning we're going to talk about the story of the prodigal son. This story comes to us from the Gospel of Luke. Now the prodigal son was one of two sons of a fairly wealthy man who owned a lot of property. And as the boys grew older, one decided that he wanted to go away and see the world. And he was very excited. And he went and he said to his father, "Could you give me my money that I would inherit from you so that I can go out into the world and just see all the exciting and wondrous things?" Well, his father agreed, and the young man went out and he spent his money just everywhere on parties and fast cars and all of his friends and big houses, and just threw away his money. He just spent it all. And at one point, he had nothing left. Well, when he had nothing left, all his supposed friends just disappeared. They went to the next person who was silly enough to be giving away all their money on parties and fancy cars. And he had nothing. He had nothing. He couldn't even get anything to eat. So he decided he was going to go home and he could be one of the servants, one of the field hands at his father's estate. So he heads home. And when his father sees him coming, he's just so happy to have his son home safely that he doesn't even think about everything that he wasted. He's just glad to have him home. Wouldn't your parents feel the same way? Oh, I'll bet they would. You know, it's like when we get hurt, even if we did something stupid to get hurt, well, our parents are still just so delighted that we're okay and we're going to be okay, that they don't really care anymore what we did. They're just glad to be able to hold us in their arms again. Well, the prodigal son's father was the same. Now his brother, on the other hand, was a little bit jealous because there's this big old party to welcome his brother home, and he had stayed loyal and he'd been there and he'd worked with his father and he'd been responsible with his money, and yet here's all this fuss being made over his brother. Well, he was a little indignant. And his father said to him, "Just be glad your brother's home. We'll sort out everything else. And the consequences for what he did, he has to live with. We don't have to punish him for them. He knows what he did. He'll deal with it and make amends. He'll do with the rest of his life something wondrous." Well, God is like that for us. Even though we spend a lot of time ignoring God, go into our parties and our sporting events and our concerts and all these things which we use as excuses not to come and celebrate with God, God understands. God says, as soon as you walk through that door again, "I'm so glad you're home," and just wants to wrap God's arms around you and tell you that God is glad to see you. So that's the love that surrounds us. That's the joy that God has in us, loving us so much that even when we're a little absent, and even when we do things wrong, and even when we're silly with the gifts we've been given, when we turn around and head home, God is just delighted. May God give you peace. May God's face shine upon you always. And may we see you soon. Bye now.